Welcome back to Digging Deep, the podcast where we offer bereavement bites for time-pressed professionals and where we explore the trends, challenges, and stories that are shaping the future of death care in Canada. I'm your host, Heather Kiteley, President and CEO of GFD and second-generation funeral director. Today we're recording live from the Ontario Funeral Service Association Professional Conference in Niagara Falls, and I am joined by the president of a multi-location funeral home with over, it says here 30 years experience, but come on, it goes a little bit longer than that, of leadership experience. Today we're going to be exploring her legacy, the evolution of the death care sector, and her unique journey of raising a family above the very place where she had her career. Well, in just one career of many careers. So we have so much to talk about today. But before we start that conversation, if you're enjoying Digging Deep, don't forget to follow, like, comment, and share. Your support helps us keep these conversations going, and we're so appreciative of that. So without further ado, joining me today is Sharon McGarry, in the flesh, the legend, right here, president and co-owner of Hulse Playfair McGarry Funeral, Cremation and Celebration of Life Services, Ottawa's largest, I don't think I knew that, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know that, largest locally owned and operated funeral home, which is celebrating 100 years of trusted service this year. Incredible. With decades of experience, Sharon brings deep sector insights, a legal background, and a strong commitment. Strong commitment is an understatement to community involvement. I mean, you are like everywhere and in everything in Ottawa. So Sharon raised her children above the funeral home, built her family there, and has such a truly unique perspective on life, legacy, and leadership. So welcome, Sharon.
Thank you, Heather.
Such a treat.
To be here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you here, and you brought such an I just want to lead with this, right? Because we are here at OFSA, and you're celebrating 100 years,
yes.
And you have brought in, now the folks who are listening won't be able to see this, but the folks who are watching will. So this is the Code of Ethics from
1937.
1937.
Imagine. Yes.
Incredible.
Signed by our founders, Charlie Hulse and Keith Playfair as well. So it's quite a special piece of memorabilia for us.
Yeah.
I just came across it recently and I thought that would be perfect to bring with me today.
It is perfect to bring,
yes.
And so interesting to read about so much of what is written in here about the code of ethics or how we conduct ourselves in the profession is at the DNA of what we do still.
Yes.
Right?
A few things that might be a little bit different now.
Things that might be a little bit different.
Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of work hours, perhaps, would be one thing.
We were joking about that beforehand for those who want in on that joke. So there's a piece in here that talks about how in the engagement of professional duties, there shall be no time limits placed upon any person engaged in the staff of the establishment. So I don't think that's a good example of how things should change. Right? So
we'll put that into today's mission.
Is that how you run things over at Hulse Playfair McGarry these days?
Perhaps they did in 1937, but
maybe.
Not
Can you
now.
imagine? You think about, well, you've got so much history. And such a legacy of the establishment itself and the community and whatnot, and your legacy there, and and I think about my dad's legacy, and but that work ethic, we can chuckle about it, right? And how, no time limits, so you just sort of work until forever.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
But that work ethic is still there, I think, right?
I think it is.
Yeah.
It really is. Probably maybe more in the older people, the older, more seasoned directors, shall I say.
I love that. Okay, so for all of my staff who might be listening, you can refer to me as seasoned now instead of old. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your experience. And I think our listeners will be very interested in hearing about raising your family above the funeral home. My husband and I were chatting about it last night, and that experience of being raised above a funeral home, certainly for some of our listeners, is familiar, right? But for the vast majority of people who either work in the sector, and certainly anyone who's outside of the sector, you can't even imagine it. So talk to us a
No.
little bit about what that was like.
Yes, well, I came to McLeod Street, which is our main branch, which started in 1925, but it was a funeral home even prior to that.
No, I didn't know
Small red brick funeral home.
Amazing.
And it has been added onto over the years. And Mr. Hulse, his family grew up there as well.
So it had been a home
his
for all
girls,
that time.
yes.
Wow.
And then when he wasn't able to manage the stairs anymore, in 1979, we moved in just before my son was born, and went from there.
Wow.
But a totally different upbringing, I think, for children, as you know. Having a funeral home background, you have to be rather quiet when you live upstairs.
You cannot move. We were talking about this last night, right?
No.
Like, if you even if you had to pee before the funeral started, like you had, my dad would not let us move. I was surprised he even let us breathe while the funeral was on, but anyway,
I don't think we went to that extent, but my children went to daycare,
right.
So they were always out of the building during the day.
Yeah.
But, we've had birthday parties, sleepovers, and I think now that we are looking after the parents or grandparents of these children, they come in with a very different view of the funeral home.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yes.
I hadn't thought about sleepovers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How did you contain that, especially when they got a little bit older? That must have been a challenge.
Well, I don't know
would
if
they
we
like
did
go
it
exploring, or would your kids be like,
No,
"Oh,
we're
I
quite
need to take them here"?
separate. Actually, we're quite separate.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to take a walk around, but of course we had stories from the Hulse girls too about having birthday parties at the funeral home.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Can you tell any of those?
In fact, we had a funeral just last week.
Yeah.
My son's friend, since they were 5 years old, his mom died. And he was telling his children about sleeping over at the funeral home.
Wow.
And I think maybe it was his first time to be away from home overnight. And
So why not have that at the funeral home?
Why not have it at a funeral? But I found him lying over the couch with his arms sort of like comme ça, I guess trying to get himself comfortable and
Yeah.
So he'd have a story for his children, which is quite interesting, I'm sure, to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So,
And birthday parties.
yeah,
That'd
tell
be
me about
another
those.
thing. We would load all the children into the limousine and maybe go to McDonald's or wherever.
Oh my gosh,
wherever
how
the
cool
birthday
is
happened
that?
to be.
Yeah.
And my children were, I don't want to do this. And the rest kids were thinking, this is just so much fun.
This is the coolest thing,
Yes,
right?
The coolest thing, yes.
God, it's brought back so many memories for me, right? I remember like my dad didn't bring the limo out for us very often, right? For like social occasions.
No.
You just wouldn't go there. But every now and again he would, and it was like just my friends would just freak out because we got to be in the limo. That's so funny. Yeah. Funny that there's so many good memories about that, right? Like I think when people who don't know or don't have that experience, they think about what must it be like, and they think, it must be, maybe they think it must be depressing or it must be awful, but really, it's just life.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah,
And
it's just your home.
Yeah.
But, I think most children who come from funeral home backgrounds have certainly given up things because the call is there that, the parents have to attend to. Yeah. And that's just the way it works. But I think they also bring a lot of business knowledge with them that they probably picked up just by osmosis, breakfast table chat, and they probably know more about business than they really realize.
Yeah. You don't realize what you're picking up, right?
No.
And of course, you had a career outside of funeral service.
I did.
Long before even,
Yes.
I think, what was that, 20-some years in
20-some
law?
years. I worked as an administrator at a large law firm in Ottawa. Yeah. The Gowling Law Firm, and that was wonderful. I was able to bring experience from there to our funeral home, and it was sort of perfect fit in a way. It was supposed to make life easier for me, and that I wouldn't be working as many hours, but I don't know that quite worked out so well.
I don't think so.
Doesn't seem to me that it did.
I don't think so, right?
No.
So I'm just imagining myself. So it's the late 70s, and so probably your kids were young through the 80s, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so you're living above the funeral home, owning one of the preeminent businesses in Ottawa. Your funeral home has served, for everyone, literally everyone. And I want to talk a little bit about that, right? Like everything from prime ministers to average folks. But there you are. It's like the 80s. You are managing a family business, and you have a career on top of that. Like, how did you survive that decade of your life? I'm just really curious about that. Because you retired from, was it in 1990 where you retired from the law firm to work less hours at the funeral home?
That's right. That's right. It was a very busy time.
Yeah. I can't imagine it.
You just make it work. It's like a lot of other big things in our lives. After a while, you wonder, how did I actually do that?
Right.
But you do.
Yeah.
Yes. It just happens.
You just get through it. It must have been, like, what an experience that must have been. And you still live above the funeral home.
I do.
So you've lived there how many years?
I've been there since 1979.
Wow, amazing.
So a long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before we get into some of the other aspects of the work that you do, talk to me a little bit about, have there been any interesting things that have happened at the while you've been living there? Any good stories from living above the funeral home? I know we were exchanging some last night.
Well, just a little one about my daughter, because she was very young and we'd be going off to daycare, going to the garage to get in the car, and we'd be walking by the various rooms, and she'd look in and she'd say to me, "Lady sleeping, lady sleeping." And, it was pretty hard to explain it to her. A little one that's 2 or 3 years old, but eventually she caught on that all these ladies weren't sleeping at our house.
I'm just thinking about that too. So you're like, right, I know, and maybe you were more organized than me. Probably you were more organized than me. But I remember when my kids were young and trying to get them out the door, and just like what a chore that was and a rush that was. And while you're doing all of that, which so many of our listeners can relate to here, you're also contending with ladies sleeping and probably thinking like, okay, how am I going to get that conversation into my busy day while you're trying to rush out the door?
Well, I was just thinking about another, as we were chatting, thinking about my son was playing hockey, and they were going into playoffs. So this was a year between high school and university, and he worked with us for a little while. And I guess the fad was that they would bleach their hair.
Oh, okay, yes.
So he came home, and I didn't realize this was happening, with bleached hair. And this is a kid who's supposed to go out in funerals and help on funerals.
Oh, no!
It wasn't
so it wasn't sanctioned bleached hair.
It wasn't the look we really were expecting. So he sort of had to stay behind the scenes for a little while. I'd forgotten about that till we were just chatting.
How much trouble did he get in?
Oh, I don't know how much trouble, but
Gosh.
He had a change of career path for a little while.
I'm just thinking if that had happened in our house, my father would have lost his mind. And this is the amazing thing about like this aspect of our profession, which is really interesting, is that interweaving of, raising families and serving families at the same time. And I don't know that it's like, unless you've lived that, it's really hard for people to understand how you even manage that, right? Like you've got your own, because we all feel that burden of trying to raise kids and trying to build our families, and at the same time sacrificing so much for families who are going through such a hard time, right?
No, it's a very special place to be. Funeral homes are very special, I think, and it's not a place, not a door that people want to come through. And sometimes to see familiar faces is important to them, and I think it should be important to us in that they feel somehow comforted and they're coming into a trusted space.
Yeah.
I think that's very important to us. I think we're known for, funeral homes are known to be trustworthy and helpful. Mm-hmm. And I think, that has evolved really over the years into even being more of a resource than we were perhaps in the old days. Now, COVID has caused a lot of this to happen, whether we are a little bit weary of that word or not. But, we're doing things virtually now that we didn't do before. So we're having seminars. People can join us virtually from anywhere. And even services being live streamed. We have so many people traveling all over the world. They're able to be part of the service in some particular way.
Yeah. So this sense of certainly how things have changed, but yet at the same time, I think so many things have stayed the same in the sense that, yeah, how we do things might be a little bit different, meaning we have more technology now than we had before. We have more ways to reach people than we had before. But I think when you sort of go back to the foundation of what it is that we're doing is that what you talked about earlier, which is that recognition, that sense of community, that sense of, hey, Sharon's here. She's been here for, I won't to say, I'm sure they don't even know. It's like, she's been here forever, right? Like she lives here. She's part of the community. Is that sense of it being important to you and that people feel welcomed when they come in to your home, really? Is that a lot of what drives your work in the community? Because you have done so much and you are like always out and about and know pretty much everyone that there is to know in Ottawa. Is that what sort of drives you to continue all of that work?
I enjoy that sort of work, and meeting people and finding their stories is also interesting. We work a lot with, for instance, the bereavement sector.
Yeah.
We work for Homes for the Holiday is something that we've worked on for this almost 25 years now.
Yeah, wow.
And so we sponsor a home, and we don't just sponsor it though. We try to be involved. So I take a little group and we greet people coming into the tours of the various homes. They're decorated for the holiday season.
Okay.
Yes, we do. That's every year we do it. We're getting ready now.
Yeah.
Now we're choosing the home that we're going to be looking after, so that'll be fun. But I also come from a rural background,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a funeral home in the country as well at Wakefield. And there too, you're often dealing with family, either friends or family.
That's so
and
hard.
That's it's important to us to be present. I think to be present in whatever fashion that might be is important to us.
When you say in whatever fashion that might be, is that in whatever fashion that person needs? Is that kind of?
Well, it can be by phone.
Yeah.
So if a call comes late in the evening, and that happened just recently, it's someone I had known for a long time. It was 10:30, and I thought, will I phone or will I not? And I chose to phone.
And you called.
And we had a really good chat. I think he hung up feeling maybe more comforted that somebody was looking after his uncle.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So that's the type of thing we do.
And that's the type of thing that you do. Yeah. And you guys are doing some very cool things for your 100th year. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we had a kickoff breakfast where
Yeah.
we invited, of course, our current staff, but also retired staff. We had the mayor who presented us with a lovely plaque.
Yeah.
That was one thing that we did. We had an ice cream day for our staff.
Oh, I would have been there for that. You didn't call me for that one.
No,
What the
I
heck?
didn't.
I would have come to Ottawa.
But Charlie Hulse was part of the school board.
Okay.
And there's a school named after him, the Charles Hulse School. And we used to have an ice cream day every year for many, many years.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, as our Tom Flood said, yes, I know that we had that, but we never got to have any ice cream. So let's change.
You wouldn't let staff have ice cream?
Well, they would go. I mean, Charlie would probably go, and actually Brian and I went as well.
Is that right? Yeah.
And to the school, and the ice cream was there. It didn't come from the funeral home.
Yeah.
But so anyway, they got a taste of the ice cream this time. And then 100 through the mission, they have a program called 100 Meals. So 100, it's sort of worked in well.
Yeah.
So we're sponsoring a number of 100 meals. So that would be at Thanksgiving and Christmas and others that we're doing throughout the year.
That's no easy feat, 100 meals. That's a
Mm-hmm.
lot, yeah.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
And then we have other things on the go too. We're doing recitals.
Yeah, you were
just
telling me
now.
the organ
We're doing
recitals.
organ
Yeah,
recitals,
that's so cool.
Which harken back to recitals that were done in 1946 when our Cassava organ was installed.
So that's the organ that is in your central chapel.
Central chapel.
Right,
exactly.
right. So it was installed in
1946.
1946.
There was a predecessor, but I guess the Cassava was considered, a little more upscale.
Yes, yeah. Oh,
But
that's awesome.
we even found in our scrapbook, we have wonderful scrapbooks, and in it we found the original receipt for our organ.
No way.
$3,000 odd dollars.
In 1946, that's a ton of money.
1946,
That's
yes.
crazy.
And we have programs from the recitals, and there are 4 Sundays we're having organists play, and on one Sunday, using program that we found in our scrapbook,
Yeah.
he's replicating the
From
music for it.
1946.
So it's been really well attended.
That's
I missed
amazing.
the one this week because I came here a little bit early.
Yeah.
But I have two more to go, so we're looking forward to some of the things that we're doing.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
We're trying to make it more community based.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
we think that's a good way to do it. To
I think
celebrate.
I mean, I could talk to you forever, and here we are at the end already of our podcast, but I feel like there's so many things that I want to still talk to you about, so we'll have to have you on again. There we go. That's a segue for coming on again, because you have so many interesting stories about, some of the dignitaries that you've served in the past, and I just feel like that's a whole discussion in and of itself, which is how you, especially you and certainly your amazing staff, are just so very good at treating everyone the same, in the sense that seeing the person behind the title or behind the
Thank you for that.
whether it be a title or whether it be a lifestyle or whether it be whatever, the humanity of people it just shines through in you and your staff and everything that you do. So I feel like that's a whole thing that we can talk about.
I have wonderful colleagues that I work with now and in the past. So we've been very fortunate.
Yeah, that's awesome. So here we are at the end, and to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us today on Digging Deep. We hope that today's conversation with Sharon McGarry offered meaningful insights, certainly did for me, and just in terms of growth and leadership and just how, and for anyone who's listening. So folks, if you're listening out there and you're raising a young family, whether it be above a funeral home or not above a funeral home, I think like the sage words were like, you just get through it. So if you're in it and it feels like it's a little much, don't worry. You'll be on the other side probably before you know it. And then you'll be like, oh, how did that happen? How did I get through it? So I think that was some really sage advice. So if you found today's discussion valuable, please be sure to follow, leave a comment, and share Digging Deep with your colleagues. Your support helps us to continue to bring these important conversations to our profession. Until next time, I'm Heather Kiteley. Keep on digging deep.